Hello, everybody. Welcome to Zoom with the Cooleys, presented by the Cooley Family Association of America. My name is Coral Joy Parks. I am your new president, and please call me Joy. I go by Joy for my family, and you guys are all family. I'm very pleased to see everybody tonight. It looks like we have 20 participants right now. I'm hoping some more people join us. As Patty said, please put any questions that you have in the chat. We will address those at the end. We have a question and answer period in our program, so we'll address it then. And but feel free to raise your hand or speak up if you have something that you want to say when during somebody's presentation. Your board of directors have been hard at work this year. We've updated the bylaws to reflect recent changes in the organization, such as moving away from annual memberships. We've begun planning the 2024 reunion. We're working on outreach programs to continue to grow our organization. We will be speaking about all of these later in our program. Before we get started with our program, let me introduce to you our new board of directors. I am your new president. My name is, once again, Coral Joy Parks. I am descended from Joy Jasmine Cooley, the daughter of Giles Sanford Cooley. Or I'm sorry, no, George, Mom, help me. George Cooley.
George Cooley.
Giles, the son of Giles Sanford Cooley. Sorry. Yes. We have our wonderful vice president, Patty Cooley Wetzel. She is also standing in as the secretary. And we have Patty, say hi to everybody so we know who you are.
Hi, everyone. I'm your vice president.
Oh, okay, you were frozen. Okay.
Yeah, you were frozen for a little while too.
Okay. Yeah, maybe it's my computer. Nancy's not here yet. So I'll introduce her when she comes in. We do expect her. She is the past president, and she is our vice president of our outreach programs, which she will tell us more about later. I'm hoping she comes.
No, she's on her way. I just talked to her. She's coming.
Great. Okay, I will introduce her when she joins us. We have our new genealogist, Kirsten Workman. Kirsten, say hi.
Hey, everyone.
Didn't see her picture.
Yeah,
what was that?
It's there.
Didn't show up. Yeah, but it just didn't show up when you. There you are.
There she is. Okay.
Oh, hi. I'm here. I promise.
She's here. And we have our historian, David Cooley. And we have our newsletter editor, Rick Smith. Say hi, Rick. Okay, so that is your board of directors, and you can contact us through the Cooley website or through the Facebook page with any questions that you have. We will be glad to help guide you through any issues that you might be having with the website or joining the organization or convincing someone else to join. Okay, so we're going to start our program with our historian, David Cooley. He's going to give us a little bit of a history about the Cooley Family Association of America. Take it away, David.
Thanks, Joy. Jay's also on the call. I think he's our treasurer, or we're working on that.
Jay is our treasurer.
Yes, all right. So yeah, just my name is Dave Cooley. I'm the historian. I joined the organization back in 2006 when I went to the Longmeadow reunion that year with my wife and kids, and I'd always been intrigued because my mother was active in the research back in the 70s, and I wasn't interested at all, but then I was interested all of a sudden and dragged my kids up who are not interested at all, but someday they'll come around too. But it's a lot of fun. So anyway, I was the president for a couple terms and have been historian pretty much since then, and great group of folks. The Cooley Family Association actually started in 1936. I have a little snapshot here if I can share my screen. Am I allowed to do that?
Yeah, you're a co-host. You
Okay.
got all the power.
Got it. Thank you. Can people see this screen here?
Yes.
All right. So this is a fun little article from 1936 from the Springfield newspaper that is announcing at the 300th anniversary of Springfield that the Cooleys were getting together to form this organization. It was spearheaded by Mortimer E. Cooley, who really had the passion for building and creating the Cooley genealogy book, which I can also show you here in a second. So it's a fun little article because it talks about who was there at the first meeting, or was expected at least. And my great uncle Perry from Cleveland was the one, along with his wife, that created the first constitution of the organization. So it's a long-standing organization, and Mortimer E. Cooley was an impressive guy for sure. He was the first dean of engineering at the University of Michigan, and that's a pretty amazing accomplishment given he was not an engineer technically. A lot of fun there. But and there's actually the Mortimer Cooley Nuclear Research Lab. It's a building there named after him still today. So the Cooleys in Ann Arbor at the University of Michigan run deep, and Mortimer's dream was really to create not only this genealogy, but a centralized location where we could house a library of all things Cooley that people could visit. And that, as you can imagine, building a building or getting a building is expensive, and to keep it running, et cetera. So that never really quite happened. There was certainly funds, but not enough. And we continued with the reunions every 2 years, with the exception of wars and COVID. We've been able to do that, and we have since finally found a location that I think makes a lot of sense. It's the Noble and Cooley Drum Factory in Granville, Massachusetts. That's another picture. Hopefully you see that as well.
Yes.
Created in 1854. It's a great organization, building really high-end custom musical instruments, drums in particular. And there's a great history if you ever get there to visit and take a tour, because there's a lot more to it than that. But they build drums for folks like Phil Collins and Bill Kreutzmann, and really, high-end equipment that's, because it's so handmade and using still the 1850s kind of technology, is highly prized and very expensive. But they're doing okay. But what was nice is they have a big warehouse, and they have a sister organization that is the kind of the heritage foundation of that neighborhood. And they've got the first fire truck in Granville and things like that. So we thought that it made sense for the the dream of Mortimer to be in Springfield, Long Meadow area with all the Cooley material, that we would put our stuff there. And by stuff, and these are collections. These are the Frank Cooley collection going back to the early days of his presidency, where he collected quite a bit in Kentucky. Doug Cooley, our genealogist, obviously took over a lot of the paperwork and such that has come down through the years. So his collection is there. Doug's with us today. And all the stuff that I've kind of accumulated as historian from the previous historian and things like that. So we have a pretty good nucleus of material there that folks are welcome to go visit. It's not of the condition of the archives in Washington, D.C. or anything. So it's a little rustic, as you can tell by the building here. The building where the library is actually on the left side, if you will, of that bridge that flies over. But if you want to check it out, you just contact me, and I'll make sure you can get in the building. And there's a desk and a chair and some lights, and there's some digitizing equipment and things that you can use to do some research. It's not completely organized. This has been an initiative in the last 3 years or so, and as a volunteer organization, time is tough for everybody, but it's coming together, and we want to essentially have a digital library someday. And we've through the efforts of Doug and many others, we've got a lot of material already digitized on our website. So that's part of the dream too. Mortimer obviously never, I don't think, envisioned a way that we could do a digital library. So there's a lot of material, through our website for members only kind of access, and a lot of good, for any public access as well. And so those are kind of the two focus areas. There is a library collection of Mortimer E. Cooley specific items in the Bentley Library at the University of Michigan. We did have a reunion there I'm not sure what year it was exactly, but we were able to go in and take a look at some of this stuff, and they do a good job of keeping that material housed safely, et cetera. So there's a few different things, but we're, trying to pull it all together and keep it together. And, that's kind of been one of my roles here, and really kind of allowing people to get a feel for the history of the organization. There's a lot of great letters that have been handwritten over the years of, from officers talking to other officers and trying to strategize on where the organization's going and how do we get more members and all the things that we still wrestle with today. So it's been a lot of fun. This is the Cooleys genealogy book right here. The original one. There's another variation that comes in 2 volumes, and we actually have somebody who had donated, and it's at the library in Granville, the Cooleys genealogy that's embossed with the young lady's name on it. I think she was the first secretary going back to 1936. So it's kind of a cool piece, and actually Mortimer signed it to her. So it's got a little signature in there. I like that stuff. So that's a little bit about the organization. A lot of fun. We get together, like I said, every 2 years. We have occasional board meetings in between. You get the communique. So we keep things going there, and we're doing a lot of DNA testing as well, which I'll talk about a little later. So I think I overran my time limit.
No, you're doing fine.
All good. So that's it from here.
Great. Thank you, David. Okay, so our past president and vice president of outreach, Nancy Tinsley is here. Hi, Nancy. You're muted.
Tell her how to unmute.
Yeah, she knows.
Oh, okay.
There you go. Okay,
Did
so
that do it?
yeah, that did it. Hi, Nancy. How you doing?
Doing okay, better late than never. Sorry
Yeah.
about that.
That's all
okay.
right.
You made it just in time for your presentation. So without any further ado, here is our Vice President of Outreach, Nancy Tinsley. She's going to talk about our outreach program, our YouTube channel, and the Youth Genealogy Research Grant. Take it away, Nancy.
Okay. Well, thanks a lot, Joy. Actually, the outreach is rather a new position, and it was started by Angie. And Angie wrote up a beautiful, I guess you could say a program for the Cooley family to begin to develop a way to reach out to different communities, to invite people to come in to the organization and learn what it was about. It was kind of difficult getting off the ground, but we tried a few years ago, and I think it was 2019, but correct me if I'm wrong, because Patty and it was Patty and Doug and Dr. Bob and I went to a genealogy conference, and we had a Cooley table. And as people went through all of the different booths that were there, everybody from Roots Tech to Ancestry.com, and we had our own booth, and people would stop by and talk to us. And that was really kind of the beginning of looking at different ways to provide an outreach service. So that happened in St. Louis when they had the National Genealogical Program here. And now what I'm thinking about doing is something that Doug suggested. Is Doug online here?
I'm here.
Yes,
Oh, perfect. Great.
So it was something that Doug suggested also. And it was to provide, make ourselves available to smaller groups and to different types of formats of presentation. He just sent me an email. I think you did, Doug, last week about one that you were going to be going to maybe in Massachusetts. And I've already looked at having a table at the Missouri State Fair and the Illinois State Fair as they emerge this summer. And that's just in the Midwest. and then the one up in Indiana. And the reason I was going to go to Indiana, of course, is because I'm going to go visit Fort Wayne this summer to scout out and draw some ideas on programming for our next reunion, which is scheduled for 2024 in Fort Wayne. So just in looking at these types of formats, which are a little smaller and they're regional in nature, is another way that we are going to provide some outreach. Another thing that we're doing is we're looking at electronic formats. And we brought up in our board meeting the other day, it's called YouTube, and it's a way to build your, I guess it's kind of a build your brand sort of option, and have different videos and narratives available for people that might be interested in learning about not just who we are as an organization, but maybe some very specific vignettes of some of our members that they might like to contribute. And I'll give you for example, I have a short vignette. Oh, it's 3 minutes. It's very short. And it talks about my great grandparents. And my great grandfather was a carpenter. And in fact, he built staircases for very fancy houses down in New Orleans. And after the turn of the century, he made his way up to St. Louis. He stopped off to bury his father, who was they're all Cooleys. They're all Cooleys. And he buried his father down in Salem. And then he came up to St. Louis and stayed here for a few years building houses. And when the Depression hit, he built a large family home and housed all of our family there until everybody got on their feet. And it was a wonderful story about Charlie. And that was my great-grandfather, Charlie Cooley. And little stories like that are very important. We had a speaker, oh gosh, a couple reunions ago called Sonny Morton. Doug, in fact, is the one that found Sonny for us. And Sonny did a presentation on preserving your family stories. So it's not like I'm real original and then I have these great ideas. I don't. They just come from experience and attending reunions, listening to people as they do presentations for us. And we can put some of these things out there for people that might be interested and realize that we're a great big family here. And we have some very interesting stories to tell, and we would love for them to join us and share their stories with us also. So we have the possibility of doing some YouTube things. And I'm pretty sure Rick, and I think, is Rick on? Okay, so Rick, you're there. Rick said he would like to be involved in that also. So there's two of us that are kind of interested in building some type of a YouTube presence. And it can be short, it doesn't have to be long, but we would certainly like to invite any members that are interested in sharing some of their stories that they would feel comfortable with, putting on YouTube. And of course, family photos are helpful because they give people the context and those visual cues that you need to be able to imagine. One of the other things that we do that goes under the outreach coordinator's umbrella is the grant program. And the grant program has been around for quite a while and it hasn't really taken off. So hopefully we'll continue to offer it, but it is for family members of members like maybe a grandchild or a child, who would like to do a genealogy project. And what it does is it offers up to $50 per applicant. And then we ask that they summarize after their project so we can present the findings of that in our communique. And it could be lots of different ideas. The one thing that I use as an example when we publish a copy of the application for the grant is like a tape, not a tape recorder, what do they call them nowadays? A digital recorder or something like that. They usually run around $50 and the grant is for $50. And it could be for a piece of equipment. It could be for any kind of material that they might need to put a book together after they maybe interview their grandparents or want to record things from what they get online in their research if they go through Ancestry, or it could be just from interviewing family and relatives. A lot of schools have students do genealogy projects, although they're getting less likely to do that these days, I've noticed, than they used to. And that's sort of what falls under the umbrella of the outreach coordinator. So does anybody have any questions or comments that they would like to make?
I do.
Okay.
I have a 12-year-old granddaughter, and I think this is absolutely fantastic that
Great.
you're doing this because they are so into YouTube and technology projects. So I think you really could snag a good number of younger participants that would be wonderful.
Well, the application is in the, usually it's in the communique, and I don't know if we have one, an application for this on our website, but that might be something we want to do, is to put it on our website also.
Mhm.
So I'll check and find out about how to get that up there. Because that would be a helpful thing to have it there all the time in case you lose your communique or accidentally delete it or something. So great, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, I'll hand it back over to Joy.
Thank you very much, Nancy. Okay, I'm going to now throw it over to our Vice President, Patty Cooley-Wetzel. And
Great.
she's going to give us a recap of our 2022 reunion in Albany, New York. Take
Okay,
it
and
away,
I'm going to
Patty.
share my screen for everybody. And let me see if I can do that. Perfect. Everybody can see this?
Yes.
Lovely. All right, so this is the most exciting thing in the world, is that, if you can believe it, this organization has had a reunion almost every other year since it began, except for World War II and except for the pandemic. And I think that's 41 reunions. And so I just would like to honor that, the fact that we keep the people together. One of the funnest things that we could possibly do as an organization is actually get together physically, even though we're having a lot of fun on this Zoom. There's just nothing like it. Traveling together, touring historic places, and then sharing genealogical information, as well as tips on how to find maybe ancestors or information for your own search. So when I was new to the organization, we were in, I think, Salt Lake City, and we were told to look at maps to try to find deeds, to try to find names. And so all of our reunions have a portion of it where we tour the historic location that we go to. And then we have a chance generally to do a genealogical time together. And so we book a hotel very close to where all the activities are. We offer a fun welcome reception, very low key, little snacks, booklets, you get your t-shirt. We have tables set up that have historic things like the books and cookbooks and brochures and history from maybe other reunions or from our founder, Mortimer Cooley. So, and it's always of great interest, and people are usually, they really enjoy it, and they get to settle in and they get to hear about what we'll be doing the next day. And so the next day we generally meet, in the lobby and get everybody situated and get on a tour, and then go take a look around town where we are. We had a guided tour that told us about the historic Albany, New York, the Dutch, the architecture, places that were beautiful to look at as well as historic for us. And we took a docent-led tour inside the New York State Library and Archives, and they had a genealogical section as well. And we had a little bit of time to do our own research. We were told where to find materials, what was available to us, maybe how to have one-on-one help. We got to look at paper that was in, I don't know, the refrigerator part of the storage that was paper from the 1600s. It was truly magnificent. The elevators were a little scary, but I think Doug found some very, very old maps, and on those maps, he found that the county of an ancestor he was looking for information for was actually a different county in the years that the ancestor lived. And it's just kind of remarkable for learning. And then we generally at our reunions, we have this fun activity that we can all do together. And so this summer, we went out on the Hudson River, and it was also a docent-led cruise where we got to hear about the history of the land, the significance of the river, the boats coming in, going out. We had lunch on board, and I think that was maybe about an hour and a half. And the big kickoff, or whatever that's called, summing it up, is after we've spent the morning together on a tour, we've spent time researching together, we've had a fun activity together. You kind of get to know your cousins, and you're like, oh, he's afraid of water, or he won't eat, potato chips or whatever it is. Or, I found this in the, maps, or, you find that you have a ancestor together and you can research together, like David and I found. And then we have this dinner together, and you sit around and you can discuss the things that you learned today or that you enjoyed. And it's a fun time. You feel like you're with your family. And then we generally have somebody spectacular. And so we had this Jane Wilcox, and she was actually at the New York State Archives. She was our tour guide, and she gave a really knowledge-filled talk about where our ancestors may have come from and where they may have gone from the area. And so that led us to kind of have a discussion on where the next reunion we have might want to be. I don't know if we have any information on her on our website, but if anyone is interested, both Nancy and I could connect you with her.
Right.
And then after the keynote speaker, we have a time where we do an award presentation time. And so Jay Smith has been with our organization and serving all of these many, 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 many years. And so he wanted to honor Nancy Tinsley, who served as our president from 2014 to 2018. And then she was in the role of interim president from 18 until 22. So we really applaud her. And Jay did a spectacular job of doing that. And then our very, very shy, outgoing genealogist, Doug Cooley, there was just no way to put in words how much he means to our organization and what he's done for us. Kind of leading the ship on data, DNA, how to access the website, getting things put into digital form, just unbelievable. And we're so grateful for Doug. And this is Jay's son, Randy, singing his praises. And so we want to honor Doug and hope that we'll be in very, very good hands with our new genealogist, Kirsten. So moving ahead is really positive and fun and exciting. And so if you can see, she's wearing this shirt that we made, that we still have a few sizes left if anybody didn't get one, which is, if you look at it, it's Cooley, and then it's the historic way that Cooley was spelled, and it was spelled phonetically the way that it sounded by people in every part of the world. So they spelt it with O-U, O-O, L-E-E, L-E-Y, and I think it may have been Doug that described what it meant. But Lee is a field or a meadow, and Cool is cow. So Cooley is really cow field. And then after our spectacular reunion and research and activities and tours and awards, we wake up the next day, and before our business meeting and election of officers, we generally have a presentation, and a lot of people are really interested in what the new advances are in the DNA. And so David is always the one that, can give us the direction things are going. And so I believe that David, let me see if that's my last slide. Yes. So that's my last slide. And thank you everyone for tuning in. And David's just going to give us a little update on, I think we're going to have one of our former VPs give us a DNA presentation. So the date and everything will post, but if you're okay with that, David, I'll hand it over to you for a minute.
Sure.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Patty. Yes, so we have had, I guess, going back till, I don't know, 2015 or even earlier. I found some old records today from 2016, back and forth with a gentleman named Michael Cooley. He's in California. He's a DNA guru, really, in terms of the science of it all, which is way over my head, I'll be honest. But he created, along with Doug Parker, another member, the Cooley Surname DNA Project, which is collecting from folks who agree to participate the DNA that gets tested, and they can tell by the markers, who's connected. So as great as this effort was in this book, there were a lot of errors that people had made over the years, which is understandable with the data and handwriting and all the other things that you can run into, a lot of assumptions that people made. And DNA is rock solid in terms of being able to solve some of those mysteries. It really, in this case, is focused on the Cooley surname. And surnames really only started being used in the 1400s. But Michael and I, in comparing DNA, he's able to confidently tell me that he and I don't share a common ancestor, even though our names both Cooley, going back 10,000 years. So it's really amazing what can happen with the work that goes into it and the science. And what it's also helped is that I think, of course, Benjamin Cooley, because that was the focus of the genealogy, settling in Springfield, Longmeadow in 1640 or so, you know, a lot of people just assumed everybody went back to Benjamin in Longmeadow. And what the DNA is showing now, after now 10 years of doing this, is there are 16 or 17 distinct Cooley lines, and where they go back, and it's pretty amazing. We don't have all the answers. There's a lot still in the works, and we've got a little bit of funding for people who have the Cooley surname and want to participate. So we can talk about that. But the science of it all is something that we'll have Michael talk about on a future call. And we've actually scheduled him to talk on February 27th, which is also a Monday night at the same time, 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 Pacific. Again, he's just a wealth of knowledge, and he can break it down into simple language, which is something I need. But I'm confident he knows what he's doing, and there's always evolution in the science, but he can look at the data, and it's pretty amazing, the spreadsheet. Now he also has a genealogy blog that he does, where you can read updates and subscribe, and through Facebook as well. So it's the Cooley Family DNA Project. If you Google it, you'll find it, and you can keep up to date online with Michael's findings as he gets them and digests them and parses out the data. It's pretty interesting. So I know there was a question in the chat from, I think, Laura, on how far back do we go, and Joan Arnott in the UK, and we've actually got some participation finally from folks in the UK to do the DNA testing, and we have a couple that are participating, and that's answering some questions. So that should take us further back. It doesn't help us in the chat. One question was, do we go back to Anne Boleyn and those kinds of things? I don't know that I have the right answer, but there's obviously tangentially a lot of amazing people that we're all related to. So that's always fun when you find those. I think sometimes, again, it's hard to prove, and assumptions are made sometimes because people get excited, and so I'm always a little bit skeptical or taking it with a grain of salt. But the DNA is really the rock solid piece of the equation that helps us answer those questions. So hopefully everybody can join on the 27th, and bring your questions and get a feel for how this is going, because it's we've made a lot of progress in the last several years. So we'll have more info out to you on that, I'm sure, through a communique or Facebook and all the other usual outreach tools.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I did a little switcheroo, and I'm going to hand it back to Joy, and she's
Thank
going to
you,
give you
Patty.
guys the dates and everything and the info on our next reunion.
Thank you, Patty.
Sure.
Thank you, David. That was very good. Okay, so somebody asked if we have the dates for the next reunion locked in, and yes, we do. At every reunion, we have a business meeting on the Saturday morning, the last day, and we do a lot of interesting stuff there. We vote for any new board members, and we also choose the next dates and location for our next reunion. We have chosen the date of July 25th through 27th, 2024 for our next reunion, and we are going to go to Fort Wayne, Indiana, which is home of the Allen County Public Library Genealogy Center, which is one of the largest research collections, and it has one of the largest genealogy research collections and staff who specialize in genealogy. So I'm sure that we're all really looking forward to that. And for those of you who don't know, the reunion's a wonderful place to meet family, but it's also where we hold our business meeting, and we really encourage every member to come and participate in that. We like your input. You're part of the organization. We're just here helping to run it for you. We're keeping it going for you, but it's your organization, and so On this Saturday, the last day of the reunion, we have our business meeting. The members are encouraged to attend, encouraged to give some input, and help us also choose our next location for our next reunion. So that's that for the reunion announcement. And I think that is it for our agenda. So we will now go into the question answer portion of the program. And I believe we've answered all the questions. I don't know, David, I don't know if we have any Cooley patriots. Somebody asked, Becky asked if we have found any Cooley patriots. And I'm assuming, Becky, you're talking about the Revolutionary War, right? Okay. David?
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure we do. I know that I have an Andrew Cooley in my line who I think was at Ticonderoga but died of typhoid or something. So I don't know the exact story there, but I mean, the odds are pretty good that there's patriots. I don't know
We do.
enough
Luke.
to say what
We
class.
got Luke Cooley,
What
Others
was
may-
that, Nancy?
Luke.
Luke?
We've got Luke Cooley. We've got 3 that I think we know of easily.
Well, can I jump in here and
Please.
answer that
Here's the
question?
doctor. He'll know the answer.
Excuse my video stopped working and it won't let me turn it back on. So you're going to have to listen to what I have to say without seeing my expressions. But it's in the Cooley genealogy, and these would be descendants of Benjamin. There is actually a section, and I may say even a chapter, and Dave, you got it handy, you could just pull it out, but there's a chapter there that lists all of the Cooley patriots, and I want to say there's got to
There
be
is.
50 or 60 of them. So
Yeah.
I don't know, Becky, if you can find somebody among them, and that'd be a great place to start. And that would be a Cooley surnamed, specifically identified patriot of the American Revolution.
Yeah, I'll jump in. I'll jump in too. I'm in the on the board of the Sons of the American Revolution out in California, and I am a member of SAR through a Cooley family member, Azariah Cooley Jr. From 1730 to 1777. So he snuck in there as an older gentleman. So there's at least one more, and that is a good list.
Yeah, page 164 of the big blue book is where there's not only just a list, but a little bit of a description of their role in the service, and lots of good information, actually. Different
Can you say
spelling.
the page number again, please, David?
164,
Thank you.
chapter 7, Revolutionary War records of Coolies. I don't know, again, what classifies it officially a patriot, but there's lots of good stuff here.
I'm looking at my line right now, and I'm basically got 2 that could possibly, they fit in our time frame of what we consider a patriot. It's Martin Cooley and Simon Cooley, and they're both in Massachusetts.
Let's see if we have a Martin or a Simon here. Martin Cooley, Sunderland. Sunderland, I don't know. That might be his first name. Sunderland. No.
Yeah, Sunderland, Franklin, Massachusetts.
Reuben Dickinson's company, Colonel Ruggles Woodbridge's regiment. Ticonderoga. Martin Cooley, Sunderland Corporal. Captain Nodiah Leonard's company. Muster roll dated October, enlisted April 27, 1775, service 3 months, 12 days. And then there's a private Martin, but I think they're saying Martin is the last name here. No. Justin, no, that Martin's the first name. Good. I should know this stuff. What was the other name? Simon.
Simon. And he's in the same, that would be Martin's father, and he's in the same area.
Okay. There's no Simon in this list listed.
Yeah, he'd
On his own.
be a super older gentleman. He was born in 1720.
Gotcha. Let me go back to Martin and just see if there's any other reference to Simon.
And then when we get a minute, Beth has a question about whether the Cooleys would be interested in repairing headstones. I haven't had that question come up before.
Nor have we're open to, you know, if you make your business case and send it over, we'll look it over. It would be a first, I think, but I don't want to say no out of the gate. And I'm not in charge of anything either.
I
But-
think that's definitely
meeting.
something to talk about. It would be an interesting project.
Let me turn the sound down on my computer.
In very bad shape. John Cooley stone is broken and laying.
Come on.
Is that something that we would have to bring up at a board meeting
Definitely.
On a Zoom
or
call.
possibly the business meeting?
boring
Because
right now.
at
Hold
the
on.
reunion, we have the
No, hold
business
on.
meeting for everybody, but then after that, we have the board meeting where just the board meets.
I just
So-
wanted to stop the.
That might be something that
Mm, mm.
We could,
talk about at the business
you know, I
meeting.
have no idea how much and what it takes and all that. So if you have.
No, it
those-
doesn't, it doesn't have to be a business meeting. The board is absolutely
anytime.
got the authority to
Totally.
discuss anything.
Okay.
But again, I'm just not educated enough to know what's involved.
Beth, what can you tell us?
After the reunion in New York, we went up and went through Vermont and we went through Pittsford and all that. The stones are almost unreadable. They are full of moss and all that kind of stuff. And they're leaning. There's a huge tree right by all of Benjamin's, John's wife. And John's is broken and on the ground. The other ones are very hard to read. They're leaning. I think the roots of the tree are causing them to
Gosh.
fall over.
So this is making me think, David, Doug, Nancy, about Long Meadow. I mean, didn't we go to the house and we saw the old violin from 17 whatever, and then we went out to the cemetery,
We did.
and those headstones are barely visible. Much of them are sand and crumbling. And what did we decide, or what did the Long Meadow Historical Society decide to do about aging, headstones? Does anyone know this?
I don't know that you can do, you know. I'm sure there's two schools of thought, and the people that run the cemetery are the ones in charge, right? So they make the decision ultimately, and
Right.
whether they'll
What would
allow
the Historical Society say? Look how old they are?
well, they may say it is what it is, and that's the character of the stone, and you can't mess with it. I don't know. I'm just.
Yeah, no, I'm just curious because I just thought, I never thought about the Cooleys restoring, the Long Meadow
Well,
Cemetery. And I wonder, is that,
They moved those cemeteries several times also.
right.
Which-
Benjamin and his immediate crew are all in a kind of unmarked grave in the big Springfield cemetery, because the original cemetery either washed away in a flood, and they just kind of did the best they could putting him in this older.
The
historic
problem, I think, is, this is Jay, is that once you start doing this, there really is no ending. I know that I've restored some of the more recent ones, being maybe 200 years old, and in our own immediate family. And it is not a cheap activity, and it's kind of a never-ending one, because so many of those early stones just haven't really survived. So I don't know where we would really start with that one. especially since there are 14 different lines of Cooleys we just learned about.
17.
Well, if you go
And growing.
to find a grave, also, if you're doing ancestry
Yeah.
or something like that,
Yeah.
they do have a way that you can go online and contribute to a grave site that you have a direct connection with, like they'll ask for donations to help support that grave site. I don't know if that's helpful, though.
It is, everything's helpful.
I didn't know that. I went to the Benjamin, well, not, the church that Benjamin was baptized in Tring, England. And you can't read any of those stones. I mean, they're just, from that era, they're just flat. And I don't know what do you do? How do you know what it said? But that's different than Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh with the Cooleys is a big, kind of a prominent location, well known, and might be worth looking at, but I just don't know what's involved.
I'm glad that you went back to England. That sounded very exciting.
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, I happened to be there for business, so we took a 2-hour train ride north of London, and really in Tring, the only thing that is kind of left from that era is the church. Everything else, the Rothschilds came in and made it their own town in the 1800s, and by then the Cooleys that at least we're most interested in were all over here, or maybe we'll have some that we'll find in this DNA project, but there was nobody really to turn to.
Lovely.
But it was still fun.
Are there any unanswered questions? Anybody have any curious thing come to mind that you'd like to hear? We'll turn it back
Nobody's-
over to our president, Joy.
Okay, well, I think that's an interesting subject, talking about restoring headstones. And as Jay said, quite a undertaking, considering how many lines we have. Yeah, I think it's something that we can discuss more in the future. Thank you for bringing that up, Beth. So I see nobody else has any questions. Do we have any comments? Any board members want to add anything that we might have left out?
Angie just sent a nice little document on cleaning headstones, which I've
Oh,
never
great.
tried to do it, so this is not bad. I don't, but
Thank you,
again,
Angie. It's in the chat if anybody wants to click on that. Beth, if you want to click on that link right there. So, okay, if we have nothing else to talk about, I guess we can close this. I have just a reminder, we do have our Cooley website. We have our Cooley communique, which has now gone completely digital. And we have our Cooley Facebook page, Cooley Family Association Facebook page. And so we encourage you all to visit these and keep up with what's going on with us, and look for our YouTube in the future. We will, when we get our YouTube page up and going. If anybody's interested in helping with that project also, we can use a little help with that. Feel free to contact us. As I said before, we're just kind of helping you run this organization. It's a family organization. It's all about you. You are part of it. And we encourage everybody to participate in any way they choose to. With that, I will say once again, thank you very much for joining us. I was really happy to meet everybody. And I will say good night. Patty?
I would like to say thank you all for coming. It's been splendid. And we will send you an invite to the DNA presentation, which will be in a month-ish. And hopefully we'll see you at the next reunion. We'll give you plenty of warning about the exciting things that we're going to do as a family, research and play time. And our next keynote speaker should be even better than all the others. And they were exceptional. And I would like Jay to just kind of say goodbye, if you guys don't mind, because he's got the right things to say. And so if he could be like a little bookmark and just wish you all well, or whatever he's going to say, I'd love it. Thank you.
Well, as indicated, I'm probably the one that's been in the organization the longest, having come in the 1960s. The reason I came in was really I had a great aunt who did all the Cooley genealogy in our family. And when she heard about the big book that Benjamin Cooley was putting out, she went back to the reunion in 1948 in Wisconsin, and she was able to take a lot of the records that she'd gathered of our family, because the only thing that was in that book for our particular family was an unplaced Cooley, Abraham Cooley, from Washington, D.C., who was an attorney there. So we went and put in about another 4,000 names to the Cooley. And it was and I had the opportunity of helping my aunt when I was just 16 years old, of helping her do a lot of that. So anyway, I felt genealogy in my bones. And as you saw, the Randy was been a president of the organization, and now he's busy in church work. And I've got my daughter Relia here sitting at my side. There she is. She's going to take over and help me with the treasurer work when I can. But I'm glad to meet all of you. Get your rest of your family involved. You know, they can come in on these Zoom meetings, even if they're not a member. Just give them a link.
Yeah.
Get them excited. And I'm trying to do that with my children, but haven't done a lot of it. Randy was going to be on. He just called and he got tied up. So anyway, thank you for coming. We hope this will expand. I'm excited that we can see each other on Zoom.
Right on.
Thank you, Jay.
Bye, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
everyone.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Patty, for putting this all together.
Yeah,
My
good work.
pleasure.
Yes, thank you.
Bye.
Good night,
cousin.
everybody.
Right.